welcome. My name is Charlotte Diller. I live in northern Lower Michigan with my husband, 3 teenagers, and 3 dogs. This is Sky. She's the youngest. She is 2 months shy of 2, and she is the barky one of the group, so invariably we will hear her barking. This is my very first podcast, and this is my 3rd attempt at my very first podcast. The first go-round, of course, you had to scrap it. The second go-round, I hit the photo button instead of the video button, which I didn't realize for half an hour. So I yammered on for half an hour, watching myself talk. So hopefully a 3rd time's the charm. This is going to be about making the podcast in general. I will be often by myself. Hopefully I will get my best friend Geraldine in here as often as possible. We live 4 hours apart, and she will be here over Thanksgiving weekend, which is coming up, American Thanksgiving weekend. And today, I should tell you, is Friday, November 17th, 2017. So I will have her join me whenever possible, possibly some other friends, maybe my mother. So no set plans other than I'll podcast when the spirit moves me and have things to talk about. And well, I'm always making something, so there will always be something to talk about. Mostly knitting, crochet, lots of sewing, getting back into sewing, and who knows what else. I also garden, I like to bake, entertain, so we shall see. I might have different friends who do different things on, and we will chat. So I don't know. We'll see. I've been inspired by all of you lovely podcasters out there. Of course, The Grocery Girls was probably one of the very first podcasts I started watching. And we're not that far from Canada, eastern Canada, Ontario province. We're only 3 hours from Canada to the north. And it was funny because of course, once I decide I like something, I have to go back to episode 1. Luckily, at the time, they only had about 18 episodes. So I went through each one of those, and then, of course, ended up with a Canadian accent. And then more recently, Levi from WTF Knitting, he does a lot of the sing-songing kind of thing, which, everybody does once in a while, I'm sure. I have, at least. And so, of course, then you find yourself sing-songing more during the day. And now I'm covered in dog hair. But anyway, so, and he's very encouraging. If you've been thinking about it, just do it. And I've been thinking about it and thinking about it. And I've been watching the Hey Sister podcast, the sisters, and they've really gotten me back into the sewing mode where I've got fabric to show you and projects lined up that I can't wait to get to. And then most recently, this week, I discovered the Little Tailoress. And why does she have to live an ocean away from me? Because she is a maker like I am, stay-at-home mom. Of course, she has a toddler now, where I've got teenagers, but still, she has a wide array of interests, and she's just every day working on something, and that's kind of what I do. So, if all of you can do it, well, we're going to give it a try. So we'll see what happens. I have been sewing for a very long time. I started out when I was probably around kindergarten, making the cotton loop pot holders. I can't tell you how many of those I made. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love making with my hands. That's what completes me. That's what fills me. That's what drives me, is making with my hands. And so my mom stopped buying the loops, so I had to move on to something else, of course. I grew up in the 70s, the decade of macrame and hanging plant holders. So I made those constantly. I can't tell you how many ceiling to floor plant holders I made until my mom stopped buying jute for those. So then of course I had to move on to something else. Well, then she taught me how to sew, garment sewing. Senior year I made my senior prom dress, and about that time my friend Mindy taught me how to cross stitch. So I did a lot of cross stitch. And my great-grandmother, great-grandma Mills on my mother's side, when I was younger, probably 12, something like that, got me into quilt making. And of course she was from the 30s, and you don't waste anything, you don't have fancy tools, there wasn't money for fancy tools and all of these things that we have today. So she had made her templates out of sandpaper. And so I had a sandpaper square, I don't know, maybe 4-inch square, and she taught me how to hold the fabric on the sandpaper, and you cut the fabric out, voila, you have your square, and you're good to go. Well, and that was hand sewing, so hand sewed squares together. In 1986, my family moved from our property outside of town into town in Midland, Michigan. And any of you from the middle of Michigan and was here in 86, you'll remember the big flood. It downpoured for 3 or 4 days straight. I can't remember. All I know is that when you move, you don't unpack everything right away, so all the boxes you're going to get to later go in the basement. Well, it rained for 4 days. The sewers backed up into everybody's basements, and we had water up to the ceiling in the basement. You open the door to the stairs and it was water. Needless to say, when the water went down and school was back on, my parents were down, anything that was wet and maybe wasn't metal that could be washed, like a screwdriver, I don't know, was thrown out. So that quilt that I started with my great-grandmother was thrown out. So I don't have that. However, after cross-stitching, I then decided to get into quilting again, and I cross-stitched a bunch of squares. I should have brought that. This is my 3rd try. I should have grabbed that quilt. It's downstairs. Anyway, and you know what? I'll go get it. I'll cut this out. Again, never done this before. I've never edited a movie before. I have no idea what I'm doing other than talking about what I make. We'll just go with it and see what happens. Anyway, so I decided to cross-stitch squares and put it together in a crib-size quilt. So this is my very first quilt. And not colors I would use anymore, but so those are all cross-stitched, and then I machine pieced, and you can kind of see the quilting that is hand quilted. So I have no idea where the cross-stitch patterns came from. I'm sure I have the booklets stashed away downstairs in my crafting library, but all kinds of different. So this was my very first quilt. From there, I took off crazy into quilting, and I've made many since. I'll show more of those as we go along. And met our good friends, Mike and Geraldine. Geraldine is a knitter. And so I would do my hand quilting, and she would, when they visited or we'd visit them, she would knit. And as I said, I'm a very tactile person. I'm driven by the sensation you get through your hands. That's what fills me and just makes me happy from the inside out. And so I would always look at her yarn and ooh. Okay. If this ever makes it online, it would be a miracle. I was recording on my iPad, and And my iPad storage is full. So I think I gotta move you a little closer. If this thing gets off the ground, it will be quite an achievement, apparently. Who knew this would be this difficult? Where was I? Oh yeah, so I'm hand quilting, Geraldine is knitting, and I'm reading a blog post one day from Anna Maria Horner, one of my hands down top favorite fabric designers for all my quilting. Anna Maria Horner, Amy Butler, and Keith Fassett. The patterns, the colors, wow, just amazing. Anyway, so she wrote on her blog one day how, this has got to be 8 years ago now, her son Roman, who was a baby at the time, she crocheted a little beanie cap for him in an afternoon. Okay, if she can make a hat in an afternoon, then I will learn how to crochet. But I won't learn how to knit, it takes too long, and blah, 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 crochet's quicker, I will learn how to do that. So I went to Joann's, got an inexpensive ball of yarn, got a hook, and bought the DVD, Learn How to Crochet, taught myself how to crochet. And so after learning, of course, well, I'll get to these in a second. So I'll finish my story about how I ended up to where I am. And then 2 years later, Geraldine is here, and another friend, Christy, is here. The guys are out hunting, and we're here, and Christy says, Geraldine, teach me how to knit. And I said, okay, fine, I will learn how to knit. So my friend Geraldine, who you will eventually meet, and hopefully will be here many times, often as we can, taught me how to knit, and that's why I'm here today. So that's why the podcast will be about making, because I've been a maker since I could operate the potholder loom and the cotton loops. I will be a maker forever, and I've so enjoyed the other podcasts I've watched on their projects and the inspiration you get, so I thought I would toss my hat in the ring, and that's why we're here. So the very first, so crochet. I practiced, of course, in the washcloths and just going along on the strips and whatnot. And I attempted to make my daughter Madeline a hat. And needless to say, it was a hilarious failure. You have to laugh at yourself. I mean, you have to. If you can't laugh at anybody else unless you laugh at yourself first. And it was, I'll try to put it, if I can figure out, if I actually get this recorded, and I figure out how to edit it, and I figure out how to put in pictures, I will show you a picture of this hat. It ended up being a sleeping bag for her stuffed animals. But then I figured things out, and this was the first official wearable crochet project that I made. The yarn is Stonehenge wool, which is a family-owned fiber mill here in East Jordan, which I have more to say about them as we go along. So this, just a stole. It's a pattern I found online. I probably still have it stashed away in my book of patterns. But here it is. It's lovely, it's warm, the wool is so warm. Any yarn shop I have been in the state of Michigan carries Stonehenge fiber mill yarn. That is how popular they are and how wonderful their yarn is. But this is lovely. I love to wear, that's the other thing, if you take the time to make things and you take the time, whether it's sewing or knitting, crocheting, you can't really wear paint, art, you know, I did not do these, but you can't really wear artwork, of course, but I love artwork, I love art, I love making, the beauty of it all, and wear it. If you make it, wear it. So I make things that I will be proud to wear. I make things that should be considered Whether they're worthy to be called works of art, I don't know. Art is subjective, isn't it? However, I make things to be worn. I make things that, yes, that is handmade. Did you make it? Did your mother? You know, who made it for you? Doesn't matter if I made it. I'm not wearing it because I made it. I'm wearing it because it was handmade and I spent the time on it. And things that you make should be worn. They should be used. They should be enjoyed. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of things I make. I try to make unique things. I try to make things that look like art, that nobody else has, that catches one's eye, that's a conversation piece. That's what I like to make. So, I crochet. Then Geraldine taught me how to knit. And then, a year later, I started the Fat Wool Company. So you can find me on Etsy and Instagram and Facebook as Fat Wool Co., Fat Wool Company. And Stonehenge, here in town, makes my yarn custom for me. This is an example. So thank you, Geraldine, for teaching me how to knit, because it has turned into this. And so I buy my fiber from Michigan Family Farmers, and Stonehenge makes the custom yarn for me, core spun, super, super thick, even thicker than this. This is the very first yarn they made for me, and we've moved on. And I make the extra super chunky throws. I have shrugs and wearables and capes, things that I wear that I'll show as this, hopefully, if this podcast keeps going, if I can actually record it. And and I have a website, fatwoolco.com. And so it's all undyed. I celebrate the natural color off the animal. I go to fiber shows. As a matter of fact, I have a booth coming up for the Birmingham Winter Market in Birmingham, Michigan, coming up in 2 weeks, the first weekend in December. So I will have my Fat Wool Co. there. So if you're in the Detroit area, come on out to the Birmingham Winter Market. They really do a nice job with that and the decorating, and there's lots of great things to see. So I do that. And then also, since learning how to knit, Geraldine and I have, okay, my youngest just called. All right. Again, first podcast, never made a video. The odds are against me, but we shall see. We'll try to make it work. We have become indie dyers, and our business is called Roberta Ray Fibers, and we are having an absolute ball. So when she comes for over Thanksgiving weekend, we will be in the garage, dyeing all day long, and absolutely having a ball. And there's a text, hopefully you don't see that. So I can start with probably some projects that I've got going, and I'll start with the first one with Roberta Ray Fibers. I have not done a knit along before, so I thought, and as a way, so I made this project bag for myself, Anna Maria Horner. I mean, I just can't get enough of her fabrics. Just absolutely amazing. I put a yarn orange zipper, and I just love it. The leopard print, the flowers, the colors, and then the inside is orange. Of my bag, I made it nice and large so I could use up the whole fat quarter. Oh, you know what? And this is not the right project I wanted to show you. This is a different one, which I'll probably show next time. This is my Stephen West Speckle and Pop Knit Along. This is Bags by Awesome Granny bag. It's really cute. The gardener has green, white polka dot on the inside. So, because we're trying to, of course, I wanted to use our yarn, but also we're just getting started, so I was trying to, take advantage of a promotional piece and participate in the knit along. I love Stephen West. I have his West Knits Best Knits book, which I have made another shawl out of. So this is made with our yarn, and I have to say, and the clues, the shawl's done, everybody's got their finished projects online, so I'm not giving any surprises away. Clue 1 was this chevron piece, this whole piece that goes the length of the project. That was clue 1 that you were supposed to get done in a week. No, I knit like crazy. I ended up giving myself problems with my hand, which I've only had one other time, and that was when I did a hand applique quilt for my mom. And the action of constantly holding your hand tight, when I would let go, you'd get this little zing that would go down your hand. Well, I'm pretty sure that's, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm pretty sure that's carpal tunnel. And again, just constantly, I don't know, I don't know why, but knitting on this, trying to keep up. I'm not going to do another knit along in real time because the pressure to keep up was crazy. Plus, we had a fiber show, and I wanted to have this to display at the fiber show, so I knitted. I think it took me 4 weeks to get clue 1 done, and I knit every single day. I have no idea how people got this done in 1 day. I mean 1 week. The clue 1. I have no idea. So this is Roberta Ray Fibers yarn. Clue 2 was the little band that goes here. There's short rows here. And then and this is not blocked or anything yet. You'll see why here in a second. And I had never done brioche, and I wanted to learn brioche. That was next on my list of things I wanted to learn and try. So I just went ahead, and he says on the pattern, if you've never brioche before, go ahead and practice. And well, I don't have time for that. I've got to keep up with the cow. So I just went ahead and brioched. Overall, I did quite well, I think. I will show you a section that turned out nicely. There are 2 or 3 sections where something went wrong and it looks absolutely awful. But here's the reverse. So most of the brioche turned out well, and it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to getting this finished. The reason why it isn't finished is that I ran out of my yarn as I went along. So this was main color 1. This is our blueberry muffin fingering weight, and I didn't look it up. You'd think by try number 3 I would have looked these things up, but I think this is Wisp of Smoke was color number 2, and then color number 3, it's actually the same as Blueberry Muffin, it's just the darker end of the colors, and I believe that's called Dark Secrets or Deep Secrets or something like that. Well, I ran out of, so in the pattern, when you get to the brioche section, you use your main color 3 and main color 1. Well, I started that, and then you can see right here where I ran out of main color 3. So I said, okay, I'll use my minis that I used for the stripes. Well, I ended up using all of those up. I also ran out of main color 1 right about here, so I used main color 2 here, and then I saved, so I actually like how it turned out. I saved the deep orange mini to do, you were also supposed to use your minis and alternate colors on each one of the chevron points. Well, obviously I used all my minis up just to finish the project. So I had the dark orange left over, and I thought, okay, I will use that. Well, knitting, knitting, knitting. I mean, this took forever. The cast off, hours. And then of course, I ran out of orange to finish the project. So, and I'm knitting this, and the whole time I'm thinking I'm not doing another fingering weight project for quite a while. It's winter time. I need to start using chunky. They'll go a lot faster. Maybe my hand won't hurt, which has never hurt before knitting. I just knit like crazy and knit every single day trying to get this done, and hurt my hand, I guess. I don't know. So I ran out of orange. So Geraldine has all of our Roberta Ray yarn. We're 4 hours apart, so and of course it was a Saturday when I ran out, so I had to wait for her to have the time to send me one. So this arrived yesterday, so I will finish this. And in the meantime, of course, if you're a maker, you cannot possibly go 6 hours without working on a project. And I have some socks going, but that's a whole nother story for the next podcast. I have very narrow feet, and I have to make them super narrow, but these might be too narrow, so then I'm discouraged and I don't want to work on them right now. And so, what did I do? While waiting for this orange to arrive, I started another project. I went stash diving. I have this lovely mohair lace weight, of course, that I have in my stash. And so I was looking through my patterns that I have and magazines. I've had this magazine saved. This magazine was actually the inspiration for my logo for Fat Wool Co. If you take a look at that, you'll see. So I was looking through this and looking through my stash. What yarn do I want to work with? Of course, I had already said I don't want to do another fingering because I need a break. I saw this, and of course I cast this on. Luckily, it is 2 strands held together. In less than a week, I did get the back, and this project I'm excited about because it's not knit in the round all in one piece. You make the front, the back separately, the sleeve separately, and then put it all together. So I'm feeling quite accomplished that in less than a week, I have the back made, where it took me 4 weeks just to get clue 1 done on the Stephen West knit along. So even though I said I'm gonna knit with chunky or heavy worsted or something, I cast this on, but it's a 5mm needle, so it's moving along nicely. And I really like it when you get a decrease towards the end of your piece, because then it just gets quicker and quicker towards the end and keeps it going. So I am excited about this. I would like to get the Stephen West shawl done though. If you're a maker of many things, you know how those unfinished projects kind of are there and you just want to get them done. So of course, so you can wear them, because you've spent all this time making them, so of course you need to wear it. If you're wondering about the magazine, Debbie Bliss issue 14, I've had this for a while. I said it says display until November 2014. So, oh, this bag has my mohair sweater in it. This is a bag by Mid-Mitten Designs, Mid-Mitten Designs. A nice canvas, lined. I love the handles, the bigger handle with the clip here. Extremely well constructed. I love, you can see it through there, but the polka dot on the inside. She has the nice see-through front here. Highly recommend her work. So that is this project bag. Okay, let's see. I don't know. Why don't, well, okay, so let's, I had already showed you this bag, and the other project that is on the needles is the Hohi Locatelli starting point, which I started long after the cowl was done. And I set this aside in order to do the Stephen West knit along. And, okay, so I saved the tags so I could show you. The first section is done. And then I'm a little over halfway of the second. You make 2 of these. And then you connect them with other triangles. So the yarns, the charcoal is hedgehog fibers, I believe. Gosh, I thought it was graphite, but I don't know if it is or not. It's the charcoal, her fingering. These are all fingering weights. The pale pink is a Dingo Dye Works that I received in a swap. Ridgy-Didge Patty Shot Bay is the lighter pink. The purpley speckle is a Yarn Cafe Creations. Forest Nymph. That's the darky, that one. The black and white speckle is, I believe, my Miss Babs. Northumbria fingering, graphic. That's the black and white speckle. And then the mostly white is Primrose Yarn. My daughter, who's supposed to be in school, just called again. Ink blot. That is the mostly white with the black speckles. Honestly, if I get this podcast, I will be amazed. So here we go. So that's in progress. I will finish it eventually. I always finish my projects eventually. Okay, we'll deal with the socks later because that'll take a longer discussion. So that's all I have for knitting for today. Oh, and next time I'll show you some crochet. I'll have to remember that. So let's do some sewing. So again, I'm really getting back into the garment sewing. One problem I have is, as you can see, I have very long arms, and this is a regular standard, probably size 10 or 12 button-down blouse, and you can see how short the sleeves are on me, and so I can never button them because then I can't raise my arms, and I get cold in the wintertime, so then my arms are cold and my wrists are cold. So I do have hand warmers, and I do wear those. But I really want to make a shirt that fits me, because I'm not long anywhere else. I'm normal everywhere else, standard, average, whatever, for the standard sizes in the store. Just my arms are so long that women's blouses are never long enough in the sleeves. So I found a Craftsy class called the Classic Tailored Shirt. Pam Howard, I believe, is the instructor. And I have some Kaufman Essex yarn dyed linen that I made the shirt out of. And then on the inside of the collar band and the underside of the collar, I used Kaffe Fassett fabric. And the inside of the cuff, I used the Kaffe Fassett fabric. It was gorgeous. Normally I wear probably a size 10 or I usually buy a 12 to make the arms at least reasonable. 10 fits better. And so I made the 12, didn't measure anything ahead of time, and I made the sleeves longer. I made the sleeves 2 inches longer than the pattern. The shirt was too small. I could hardly even get it on. The shoulder seam was in maybe I needed at least an inch more on the shoulders. So I gave it to my mother. She's a petite and it fits her perfectly. Of course, she had to finish the shirt and take off the 2 inches that I had added. I don't know how she did that. She had to have taken the cuff off and shortened it. I don't know how she did it, but she took 2 inches back off somehow, and she loves the shirt and wears it often. So I made another shirt. It's downstairs. And I lengthened the sleeves. Ended up making a size 16 on this pattern, and it fits. However, it's too short. Maybe it's the pattern that I picked, but because the patterns that Pam Howard used in her Craftsy class were no longer available, so I used a Burdick pattern, I believe it is. I've never worn a size 16, but now I wore the 16. I put 2 inches on the sleeves. It fits beautifully across the shoulders. The shirt actually comes down to the beginning of my hand. I'm so thrilled to have a shirt that's long enough. But now it's too short in the body. Like I could tuck it in, but if I reached up for something, it would pop out. So I'm going to make another shirt and add 2 inches to the body, and then hopefully by the third time's charm. Of course, recording this podcast, it's taking 5 or 6 times. I don't know. So I have some more shirt fabric. I ordered this online. It's Kaufman's yarn dyed linen metallic. And I thought how beautiful a classic tailored shirt would be in this metallic linen. So that is on my list of things to make. Here's an example of a dress that I made a number of years ago. Amy Butler fabric. And I'm a quilter, so I have tons of quilting cotton and quite a stash of quilting fabric. So that's what this is made out of, cotton, 100% cotton. So it comes down just above the knee, and then it has a nice little belt. Very simple belt that goes around it. Really nice cap sleeves almost, with the yoke that goes around there. A little runching right in the front. Then on the back side, I put some nice sparkly buttons. So I enjoy wearing that when it's warm enough. So things like this are in my closet. I have a new to me book that I have things marked, and I can't go into too much detail, but I have some Christmas gifts planned, and I live a very small town in northern Michigan. The closest Joann fabric store is 40 minutes away, and so luckily the internet really is huge when you live in a small town away from stores. But this book, it's new to me. I think it's been out for a couple of years. Lotta Jansdotter, she's Swedish. Key pieces to sew and accessorize, accessories, styling, and inspiration. Everyday style. And there are some things in here that I can't wait to make. For instance, let's see, she has this coat I love. She made that out of just a nice wool. So I'd like to make something like that. Of course, I have to order the wool. so many things. Where is it? Here's that same coat, but in a cotton. Love that. So I'll be sharing more things out of this book. When I ordered that shirt fabric, I found some Rifle Paper Company fabric, and I ordered this in a canvas. I might make that coat, but there's a shorter version out of this. I just think that would be absolutely darling, and I don't know if you can tell, there's that gold, it's metallic. But that, I'm amazed with. Nice canvas. It'll hold its shape well. I think that coat would be nice, and just even, you know, jeans, you could dress it up. And then I couldn't help myself. I'm not going to wear this. Perhaps I will make a bag. My mom thought I should make pillows for the couch. A couch pillow would be really cool, and I thought with some giant red pom-pom fringe. Alice in Wonderland. Again, the gold is metallic. I cannot wait to use this. So darling, so cute. But as you can see from the background, I like to have really deep neutrals in my house. Most of the house is a light gray. Fireplace is the really dark muddy gray. And then I have a red armoire. So I love pops of color. The chair I'm in is a neutral linen. And then to have a pop of a color of a pillow. For instance, this is from a decorator, but so that's, I like to have just a pop of color. Let's see. Well, I should probably end this today before my luck runs out and I lose everything. Thank you if you have hung along, and if I was able to get this online for you to find in the first place, thank you for sticking through to the end. And again, you can find my Fat Wool Company on Instagram and Facebook. And also Roberta Ray Fibers is on Instagram and Facebook. We have Etsy stores for both. I have a website, fatwoolco.com. And gosh, I guess my personal sewing is on Instagram under CS. It's either C Diller or CS Diller. I don't know. I'll have to type it. Okay, so that's what I have today, and this wasn't as hard as I thought, so hopefully I can actually make the video, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully the next time you see me, I'll have Geraldine with me, and we'll have some more fun, and we'll show off some of our Roberta Ray yarn, because I don't have any. It's all at her house for shipping to make it easy, and so there. All right. Thank you. Bye.